It's 11:50 on the 23rd of the 6th, 2023, and unfortunately I'm obligated to update and upload every day due to people that are suffering from imagination, falsifying phone records and causing awful consternation in society where there has already been nearly holy war. So there's people that are exacerbating the awful scenes that have been occurring in this community by people that don't know how to uphold their obligations to royalty, are a hazard and a liability to the future success and safety of society. So those people that are using their mobile phones to be false reporting agendas are suffering from a mental health issue. And those practitioners that are in this community slandering my good name and that don't know how to use the appropriate language with a professional are obviously not equipped in the fields that they are masquerading themselves to be of. So there's an issue with people using my name or any aspect of my identity. There are people, as I've mentioned, that call themselves representatives of this country in the guise of politician status, that are in very dangerous, problematische Situationen with my family. They don't seem to have any concept that they're on a very thin line with the royal families that I hold titles of. These people have no concept of the damages that they've done to constitutional law, and they are silly enough to continue offending me. I really don't know if they know how unsafe they are, and how unsafe they're making other people as well with their nonsense. So if there are people up in Dublin that are fully aware that they're in trouble, they might start thinking very quickly and properly about how to undo themselves out of the trouble that they're in. I am aware that there are misogynists in society that think that it's safe to offend mothers and children, but unfortunately with the worldwide legislation that I'm of, with the property that I'm of, and with the beautiful child that I gave birth to, I hate to break it to anyone deluded up in Dublin, that anyone associated with any offences that are compromising the role of women and children, or the role of psychiatrists that are offending the Hippocratic Oath in any false reporting, defaming my name. I don't know if people know how unsafe it is to offend the defamation laws. Anyone that's falsely misrepresenting information and not observing royal protocol, you're putting yourselves at risk, and we have nearly had holy war in this community already with people that don't know how to do things properly. So anyone with any ambitions to cause discomfort, unrest or disharmony might be understanding how very thin the line is with the crimes that I've been tolerating. So those that don't know how to do their jobs properly and that are taking wages and salaries might be understanding of the compromise and the situation of unsafety that they're putting themselves in, not doing their duty. It's bad enough that they haven't fulfilled their obligations to my royal position, patronage, and so on and so forth. I'm aware that they have difficulty fulfilling their obligations, but it's a little bit more dangerous not fulfilling your obligations to the constitution of my forefathers, my blood relatives that laid the foundations for this country. So the politicians up in Dublin that are in very serious trouble, that don't seem to realise who I am, I think they need to do a little bit of homework before they insult the field of education again, and they really don't have any protection for their harms against my child's upbringing. So if they're silly enough to continue offending me, I hope they know how unsafe they are in society. I'm really amused because these people are adults apparently. So they might understand how many royal titles I have and how unsafe they are, owing me any debts. The loss of my teeth or tooth is unsafe for the individuals responsible in this situation. It's HAPS. I am not any patient of any disgusting, defamatory, disrespectful, deluded health practitioner that thinks they're going to be stalking or harassing me on behalf of anyone out in Ardfert or Kilflynn that's hoping to get onto my farms. So those suffering from mental health illnesses might be careful about their paperwork, and especially with regard to the proper procedures of addressing any concerns or matters or issues with my royal protocol. So those that are defaming my competency capabilities after my worldwide legislation being enacted in 2019 for my recovery advocacy of 2 decades People beware, because it's very dangerous offending anyone's professional achievements or credentials. People taking credit for other people's accomplishments is heavily penalised. A lot of blood, sweat and tears went into my recovery advocacy that brought about worldwide legislation, COVID-19 and Brexit. So anyone silly enough to be disrespecting that is disrespecting their safety. It's as simple as that. And there is already a very high risk with anyone up in Dublin calling themselves a politician that isn't doing their constitutional duty or fulfilling their royal obligation to my royal titles. So I've been awaiting the re-arrival of my child since 2017. He was unlawfully separated. He was technically, legally abducted by two frauds, calling themselves representatives of the Garda Síochána. We know the position of the Garda Síochána in this country with regard to the frauds and the racketeers. It's very dangerous what my child experienced. So the European Court of Human Rights, you know where we are. You know about this community, and you know about my application. So anyone that's threatening the peace is threatening their own safety. If I have to wait any longer for my child to be in my care, or any debts unmet that have to be paid, anyone cheeky enough to be associating themselves with my farm holdings and my husband, a missing person presumed dead, dear God, anyone touching the grass, blades or pasture of my farms in Tubbard Hill and Kilflynn, I can't emphasise how unsafe you're making yourself, committing a punishable crime. So mind your mental health. Any deluded, disgusting people in County Kerry that don't know that they're suffering from a mental illness and that they're in very unsafe, defaming royal titles of mine, anyone that's offending my royalty, you're making yourselves very unsafe with the debts that you have owing me. So those people that are still in my proximity, not observing royal protocol, not observing constitutional law, the basics, please be careful with who you're affiliating yourselves with. I'm aware that there are people calling themselves Aryans, or they're calling themselves evangelical individuals. There are all sorts these days as a consequence of my recovery advocacy. If you're living off my professional portfolio, that's considered fonging. It's in the most basic term, they call it a fonger mentality. People that are living off my professional portfolio and that are being dishonourable, that are basically being disrespectful to their own human life, their own human experience. So in the best interest of the United Kingdom and Ireland and our relations, I would hope everyone be really respectful of our bloodlines. People disrespecting my British blood, my Irish blood and my foreign blood is unsafe. They're unsafe offending people's family names. That's why we have defamation laws, and we have a little policy as well about people owing us debts. So anyone that's suffering from mental illness and bad paperwork in County Kerry, I hope you're aware of how dangerous it is to take credit for my legislation. As I've said, a lot of blood, sweat and tears, and yet they haven't been of very good faith practices. So if people have already gotten a reprimand from my Fernan family in this community, which I know that they have disgruntled my Fernan heritage as well, offending our faith and our family and our ancestry, please be careful about imposing upon us. We are aware that there are people that are trying to repeat history, discussing our heritage and history and aspiring to our position or status in society, trying to become the newborn royals or whatever. To be honest, that's considered blasphemy, and I'm mortified for those people that would cause such an embarrassing situation in the kingdom that has fallen in County Kerry. It's really sad. We've had a lot of loss, and that has been because of the damages caused to my child and I, and my hard-earned recovery advocacy as a humanitarian royal since 2003-2006. So I hope everyone's on the right side of the law, anyone defaming my name, and I hope you're aware that you're making yourself unsafe. As for Dublin and the debt I'm owed, you have to address your matters, financial matters with me. There are debts outstanding and paperwork on process that has to be addressed, and anyone evading that and putting themselves in trouble with my family, I have concerns for you. I am praying every day, hoping that people will see the light. So anyone that's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, there's going to be a penalty on people that don't do their jobs properly. So those civil servants of the state that think they're going to be causing more consternation in this community, it's embarrassing. I am concerned for everyone again. So mind your mental health, mind your mouths. We don't want anyone getting a black cross on their tongue for dirty defamation of my royal position and contributions to society. And as for the tooth fairies, I can't say that there are going to be children safe with people's adult behaviour being facilitated. It's a sad sign of the times. So if the Garda Síochána wouldn't mind locating my missing child, it would be in the best interest of their own children to make sure that my child is restored to my care. I don't condone trespass on my farms, and I don't condone harms to my child's upbringing. So if the guards are not prepared to do what they're supposed to do, I hope they know the risk that they're taking upon themselves. This is for the interest of the European Parliament, COVID-19 legislation, Brexit developments, from my recovery advocacy with narcotics fellowships and alcoholic fellowships, and in the field of education where I'm qualified, have all been put at risk. So if the European Parliament wouldn't kindly mind addressing the offences against COVID-19 protocol in this community, pushing more society pillars at risk, I'd really appreciate it. There is an obstruction in society by ASBOs. They have no qualifications, they're not trained in anything they're doing, they're ASBOs, and they are of obstruction that has already caused casualty and consequence. So if my child isn't located and restored to my care, and if there are people trespassing that aren't removed from my farms in Ardfert and Kilflynn, and if Dublin does not address the debts I'm owed, there are going to be more casualties as a natural fact of law. It's the law of nature. It's the law of the land. That's why we have the law. And people that break the law, you know what happens. It's a sad sign of the times. So, yeah, I hope the Vatican is aware as well.